today as we are here to talk about two of our favorite subjects at VCTV, and that is fintech and blockchain. We love these topics. We talk about them all day, every day here on VCTV, but today's episode is dedicated just to them. Usually here on VCTV, we are talking about how they integrate with other industries and technologies. Today, we're going to talk about them specifically. Again, fintech and blockchain, and maybe we'll go a little deeper. Stay tuned because we've got a lot to talk about in these areas. As we know, these are industries that are changing and technologies that are changing by the millisecond. We've got new applications or new distributed applications that are launching all over the place. We've got infrastructure that is improving. We've got new areas of that infrastructure that have changed the entire landscape of the future of our applications, and in some cases, complete new business models as well. And we also have enterprise, we have governments, we have individuals that are looking at these technologies and how they will transform our lives, how they will transform how we handle business, and how we look at our individual selves as we talk about digital identity as well in the near future. And I say near because these things are already happening. This is not futuristic technology that we're looking at in the next 10 years. This is stuff that's happening now and that will rapidly evolve over the next 10 years. And as we do on every episode dedicated to these topics, I love to read the headlines of what's happening and what's going on in this industry. It is a little bit of a quieter week than usual, but we have two big headlines I want to throw out there in the world. Aside from the Queen talking about blockchain, which is continually being exciting. But in its recent S1 filing for an IPO, Airbnb has recently declared an interest in a number of emerging technologies. Now, this is not uncommon for those that follow this industry and track S1 filings, and those are the public offering documents as a company prepares to go for the public markets. But what's very unique here about Airbnb is they're looking at tokenization, digital currencies, and blockchain. Now, what's fascinating about this is we've seen a number of projects start to rise up in the travel industry. Those that are listening, huge area of opportunity here for you. Next, coffee brand UCC Coffee has partnered with the coffee traceability platform Farmer Connect to launch its first traceable coffee. Now, we've talked, one of the biggest applications of blockchain has been always in supply chain. We know it, it's not a shocker, but to see this continue to progress, whether it's different foods or it's dedicated products, exciting news. And again, areas of opportunity for you paying attention, either as investors or entrepreneurs. With that being said, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you're liking what you hear, click that big red subscribe button to tune in all day, every day to all episodes of VCTV as we bring the best and the brightest from around the world to share with you their thoughts and insights from on the ground, wherever they may be based in our remote and digital world, on different industries, regions, and technologies around the world. And entrepreneurs, this is also a show for you. We've got less than 4 weeks in 2020, and even more so looking ahead toward an exciting and rocket-filled 2021. What better way to end the year and kick off another than getting up on our virtual stage here at VCTV to pitch your company, product, or service to us as investors and founders focused on your area to get real-time feedback, also get foundational relationships with each of us, and exposure to the entire live audience who would love to hear about what you're building. With that, reach out to the team and or myself, and we would love to find the right spot for you and also set of investors for you to talk with. And a big thank you to the entire LATOKEN team and Maria for making VCTV possible every single day, all day, on all devices, bringing us all together from around the world. And let's get started. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, but I'm joined today with one of my great dear friends from the other side of the world. But nonetheless, he is here with me in the same little Zoom box today, which is super exciting. He's a grandmaster of not just artificial intelligence, but many other technologies. However, artificial intelligence is his name. It is his game. There is so much more to him. Welcome back to the show, Gary Fowler. A little intro and a little background for everybody today. Oh.
Thanks, Kyle. So yeah, no, it's great to be here. And Black Friday should really be a good Friday because this is when people are going out and buying things for the holidays for their families, and the prices are good. So Anyhow, my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 16 companies. I've been involved in 2 unicorns. Click Software, I was on the original team of, sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion about 16 months ago. And also Eva.ai, which is a company I co-founded 4 years ago. So I love artificial intelligence. I've been involved in technology companies, starting them for 30 plus years. I just love it. I love AI. It is the new electricity. Data is a fuel. 5G is a turbocharger. And this is a glorious time. You know, the pandemic, people are one or two things. They've either prospered from the pandemic or they've let it hold them back. You've got to use the technologies to help your businesses go forward. This is the democratization of opportunity from a global basis. Doesn't matter if you're in Jakarta and San Francisco and Ankara, Athens, it doesn't matter, Moscow, there is an opportunity today that's unprecedented, that would be unprecedented 1 year ago.
Absolutely. I mean,
Great
Gary,
to be
let's
here.
just talk. I mean, you mentioned, and a pleasure to have you. It's, you mentioned Black Friday here in the United States, right? One of the biggest shopping days traditionally, next to Cyber Monday. So the Monday that follows Thanksgiving and Black Friday. We looked at Singles Day recently. So Singles Day is originally started by Alibaba and Jack Ma in China. And this is now the largest shopping day of the year anywhere in the world. And this year it takes place every year on November 11th, 11/11. This
Mhm.
year they did $72 billion in a single 24-hour shopping cycle. And I bring that up to contrast with where we are to what Gary just mentioned in Black Friday. So we just got news before the show today that according to Adobe Insights and CNBC, that Thanksgiving Day, so November 26th, for those who may not be aware, we've seen $5.1 billion spent on one single day. Now, that's a big, big deal to what Gary mentioned, is that this is an opportunity like no other in terms of time and place where we are in 2020. And the fact that we've seen such a great, vast number on one single day that's traditionally a holiday just shows the opportunities that exist for your company, your product, your service to get out into the world, that there are consumers, there are businesses that are looking to purchase it if it is relevant to them. And we're just in the beginning here for that weekend of buying. And we'll see what happens with Black Friday, and we'll see what happens with Cyber Monday. But to Gary's point, and we'll come back to blockchain because there is a ton of activity in that area around rewards and also security and privacy and so much more. But for those that are looking at getting out there in front of your customers, there's no better time. These stats are showing it. So, Gary, anything to add on? I feel like I might have.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, so I just wanted to say, Kyle, we talked about it before the show a little bit. I'm talking to companies all over the world every day. I mean, I've had, I don't know, 18 now, different speaking engagements just this week around the planet. And one thing I hear is that the companies, these startups that are everywhere, how do I go global? And so, having the opportunity like VCTV that gives information and access is critically important today. Because what do? If I'm located in Ankara, I'm located in Cape Town, I'm located in Jakarta, how can I ever get to that global market? And I hear it so much. I feel like I remember the one movie Superman when he was on top of the world and he had his ears and he was listening to everything that was going down. I mean, we have a very interesting vantage point because so many people are communicating with us. And I think, now is the time for those companies to move forward, whether they're in blockchain or fintech. It's great to be located in Buenos Aires, but the key is you got to get out to the market. And the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. You don't want to be the second mover. You want to be the person coming in. Generally, the second and third movers don't win and don't get the kind of money for the investment. So you need to plan now. You need to use these tools just like VCTV to do that. At GSD, my company, Gets You Done Venture Studios. I mean, that's what we do. We understand that being a Silicon Valley-based company surely helps. You need to curate those companies. And now is the time. It's been no better time. I've been involved in the dot-com bubble. I've sold a company during the dot-com bubble. I did an IPO in NASDAQ. I was involved with Click Software, as I said. I saw the company go from nothing to $1.3 billion. I mean, there is an opportunity unprecedented. And guess what? The technologies are converging, Kyle. The 5G, the 6G, the blockchain, the artificial intelligence. I mean, it's all coming together. It's coming together as one big, incredible, and then quantum on top of it is one big, incredible technology. You know, what do the Germans say? Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole. It's now happening.
It's so true. And let's touch back on the going global part before we head into today's topic, because this is a very important topic for many reasons. And a lot of companies in the blockchain space are very distributed, and I mean that in the sense of their teams. We're not
Yeah.
talking just the technology yet. And we're starting to see the positive and negatives of that. And some of the negatives are the difficulties of just not being in the same place at the same time. But again, there's benefits to that as well. And going global, I mean, Gary, do you have any recommendations as a company looks to start going global and spreading themselves out? It is a difficult process. It is a huge uplift. And it's one thing to have your team distributed and global. It's another to go global and actually start to expand your business into new global markets. You and I have both done this and learned very painful and expensive lessons, whether it be success or not. But curious on your side, I mean, as you talk to so many companies, you talk to so many startups, you're looking at all these different industries, what advice do you have for those that may be looking to go global for the
Yeah, I
first
mean,
time and
I
start
wrote,
entering new markets?
I've written articles in Forbes and also Medium about this. So, I use Steve Jobs' the rule of threes, right? And because
Mhm.
it, so let's look at it. What are the things that startups miss? Number one is intergenerational teams, teams that have people with experience, that have the contacts and the network and the credibility to be able to help those companies go forward. The people that got, over 40 with some gray hairs that have done it. And
Mhm.
they give credibility to the startup. So that's door number one, and multicultural diversity. So the better it's, if you look at the studies out there, diverse teams, men, women, black, white, whatever, from all over the world, they make better teams. So if we have that, then decentralized teams, having your R&D work in a place like Russia or Belarus or Ukraine or
Mhm.
Africa or Indonesia, a place where there's specific talent to be able to, as we say at GSD, get shit done. So that's door number two. And then on the other side of it, if you look at it, these are some of the ingredients for success. And what's the big barrier today? If I'm a company that's in Jakarta, Indonesia, how in the world do I use Silicon Valley as a port to go global? You've got to have a physical presence, right? In the contacts.
Yep, absolutely. And that is, just to touch on that for actually 2 points. So let's touch on that first and come back on the team. So that's something that is definitely overlooked, is you have to have a presence in the region or area that you're looking to expand, right? We've talked about this, and my mantra that I've been passed down to me from mentors is go global, think vertical, act local, right? So very
Yeah.
much go global from day one, and look towards being a global company, because you have customers everywhere in the world. Especially to what you mentioned at the start of the show, is just you've got people everywhere, so you have to be thinking about your brand and your company on a global scale. Going global into a new market, we're getting to. Think vertical, dominate your vertical. To Gary's point, you got to be out there first, but you don't have to necessarily be out first. You just need to be the first mover. You need to be the first in the terms of success, because the numbers show that the second, the third
Yeah.
does
The
not
first
equate.
mover advantage, Kyle, the first mover advantage.
It's crazy. I mean, you look at the stats with Facebook and MySpace and some of the others, the dramatic decrease in funding and success rates is just incredible. But then lastly, act local. And that is, being local, being present on the ground, and also giving back to the communities that helped you get into the vertical and also help you get out to your global markets. But when you go into a new market, you have to be there. You have to hire there. You have to be a local presence and be a part of the ecosystem, a community as well. And the second part I want to come back to is team. This is also something very underrated. We talked about this yesterday on VC TV around CEOs and or founders, pardon me, getting things started and then knowing when they may need to transition into other positions within the company and or bring in more senior, those with more experience than them, and how that actually can be tough if you find someone who's not willing to do that versus someone who is, right, as an investor. And so to Gary's point, spot on. I mean, and those are great points. And Gary, I mean, you work with a lot of companies in AI and quantum and blockchain, and we're going to get into health in just a minute, but all those areas, I mean, are you seeing more companies, and to your point of the Valley, you have to be in the Valley for more than a week to be in the Valley. And I mean that by Silicon Valley, but all of those industries and all those companies you work with, are you seeing them start to want to re-enter local global markets again here as we're kind of wrapping up 2020?
Up demand, Kyle. The thing is, they're in a quandary now because they've got regional dominance. So this is my startup 3.0 pieces. One is acceleration, two is regional dominance, and three is going global. Absolutely. But then, I mean, think of the other things that need to take place. You need to have a Delaware corporation. I use Silicon Valley as a port to the rest of the world. Why? Still half the money in the world is located there. You're going to find Docomo if you want a strategic partner. Docomo Innovations, an investment arm of the largest telecommunications company in Japan, is located out in Palo Alto. Deutsche Telekom, T-Mobile, located in San Francisco. Magna, Austrian company, located in Silicon Valley. I mean, lots of them, right? So you can go, if you're going to, I'm a country boy, right? If you're going to go fishing, you want to go to a pond where there's fish. It's like very simple stuff. Keep it simple, stupid. So these companies, there's a pent-up demand. You've got to set the structure. Why Delaware? Just, little lesson for the viewers. Delaware is because it has the best corporate law in the world. It's tested corporate law. That's why you set up a Delaware corporation. You set up an office in Silicon Valley. Why? Because the VCs like to be no more than 40 minutes away where they can come to your office and talk to you because they want to have board meetings. They want to see what's going on with their investment. And you would too. The other thing is, during this pandemic, the thing that's radically shifted is if you don't have a trusted network, the VCs will not talk to you. If you try to just write to a VC, they're inundated with notes all the time. So it's done through a trusted network, somebody that has a relationship with the VC, like yourself, Kyle, or myself, has a relationship with the folks and they trust us because we're part of the network with them. Then they listen. The other thing is you want to have name brand VCs that have some recognition because if they invest in it, it's like a herding mentality.
Absolutely. And it's a gaming effect. And even though we talked yesterday a lot about early stage investing and how many different opportunities there are and how much, but to your point, you've got to be based in the areas. You've got to be there to get some of that localized capital if that's what you're looking for. And it's something you have to do. I mean, we had Jason on yesterday who focuses on companies in the Midwest, and he wants, part of what he does, and I'll put words in his mouth, so this is on me, not him, but he wants to look at investing in companies in the Midwest. And if that's what you're based and that's where you want to go to get fundraising, that's where you are. And if you want to go to the coast, you go to the coast, you fundraise. And we're starting to see some of that change. But to your point, if you want to raise from some of the more major corporates, as you've mentioned in the past, a lot of them are based in San Francisco, and you have to come out in some way. But let's shift.
Absolutely. The deal is, and the thing that I'll give you, for instance, so I was walking down the street in Palo Alto. In Russia, when I was in Russia, I was at Skolkovo School of Management. I was a professor. I happened to be on stage with Guy Kawasaki. We did a speaking engagement together. There was a guy in the audience named David Yang. Skolkovo is a top business school in Russia. David Yang was sitting right in the front. I had heard that his idol was Guy Kawasaki. This is a real story. After the event, I had a VIP reception. I think Beeline, one of the top telecom companies in Russia, put on this reception at the school. I invited David over. it didn't take much for me to get Guy Kawasaki to autograph his book, right? He did it,
Yep.
and took a picture, was a big deal for David. Fast forward a couple of years later, I'm walking down the street in Palo Alto. Who's walking down? The billionaire David Yang. He says, Gary, how are you? I haven't seen you for a while. I said, oh, great. I'm good. He said, I'm starting a new company. I'm looking for a CEO, president, and co-founder. Do you know anybody who'd be interested? And this is the guy that I had said, this is Steve Jobs of Russia.
Right.
And 4 days later, I called him up. I cut a deal. 3 days later, I became the co-founder of now one of the most successful AI HR tech companies in the world. And it was because of the connections with the Valley. If I wouldn't have been in Palo Alto walking down University, I can tell you, I go to the Starbucks. I see Tim Cook on Saturday mornings at Starbucks on El Camino. Zuckerberg goes to the Chinese restaurant that I go to. There's a lot of people. It's about the connections. That's what the Valley is, connections. So whether you're Chinese or Taiwanese or Russian or Ukrainian or from Latin America, Argentina, China, it doesn't matter. It matters that you have those connection points and they're trusted. The Valley gives you those kind of connections. So for the companies out there, yes, the pandemic has put a wall up in a sense, but that wall with VCTVs and the digital transformation can be broken down. You need a trusted network to take you to that last mile. That's what's missing today. And people don't talk about it. That's one of the things at GSD. I focused on this actually since I've been in Russia, right? When I was in Russia for Russian startups, I don't know if I want to go to Silicon Valley. It's America. Guys, it's a port to the rest of the world. This is like, forget about it. It's not America, it's something else. It's different. It's a cosmopolitan, amazing, energetic, incredible place. So as they started to come over, this is 12 years ago, right? As they started to come over, people said, oh, this is pretty great. So that's a place where your valuations are going to be higher too, Kyle. It's not going to be, I talked today of the company, they're doing seed rounds of $1 to $2 million or Series A of $1 to $2 million. It would be unheard of in Silicon Valley. That's like a pre-seed now, right? It's like, these are small rounds. So your valuation goes up. Why is it important? Because when you want to raise money later, the last thing you want to do as a startup founder is find out that you are now an employee of somebody else because you only got 1 or 2% of a company. You don't want to have the company you founded end up being that you're the CEO, president, and co-founder of something with very little share in it. So it's important. The Valley gives you those opportunities. The Valley has knowledge. The Valley shares. The beauty about the Valley is that people share information back and forth. They're free to share.
Absolutely. And VCTV and other opportunities are out there for those right now to get into building these foundational relationships. Shameless plug, but it's true.
Yeah, absolutely, Kyle. This is the place. There's, if you look at it, there aren't many places out there that provide the platform to be able to connect the people that I've met on VCTV, the astronauts, some of the wealthiest people on the planet that you don't even, I know coming into VCTV who they are, partners of Richard Branson. Just it's crazy. But this is what you need because those connections, those warm contacts are just the break you need to get to the next level of being funded.
Well, and switching gears now to the technology aspect, because we were talking about fintech and blockchain, and I want to dive right in on blockchain because for you, I know, and we've talked about off show, is it comes in 3 intersections. It comes in artificial intelligence, quantum, and then health and supply chain. Would love to hear your thoughts. And let's start with health and supply chain on that note. What are you seeing? What's happening? Because supply chain was the first use case, or excuse me, one of the early use cases of blockchain and the most common. If you look at the landscape for those that are tuning in around blockchain and its adaptability, the supply chain is the biggest. The next is fintech. Those two dominate the entire landscape of the companies in this area. But Gary, to you, you're working a lot in this and investing. What are you seeing happening?
Well, just think about it. Again, I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania, a little village. So, I just keep things real simple, Yeah. So, just think about it though. We need in healthcare, in the health chain, we need to increase the transparency and efficiency. You know, from manufacturers to retailers, we need to able to trace products through the supply chain. Why? Because we got to make sure that they haven't been tampered with, there's just
Mhm.
careless handling, they're fake. You know, what if there's a quality issue with a product or drug? You know, we need to be able to understand where it is within the chain, locate the inventory and pull it out. This
Mhm.
is like simple stuff, right?
Mhm.
And the thing is, I don't know, most people don't know that the FDA has now a Supply Chain Security Act to understand where there's contaminated, stolen, counterfeit, and otherwise harmful drugs. There's a lot of it, right?
Mhm.
So right now, today, as we speak, Kyle, Walmart, Merck, KPMG are actually testing this. They're doing pilots of this, right? So it's to improve the security of drugs because guess what? Even, you know, large retailers get fake drugs. It's, you know,
Right.
it happens.
It
So,
does.
and then, you know, if we look at it in terms of the blockchain, I just had a presentation this morning. Think about it. It's about the accountability. We need to know what the hell's going on, right?
Mhm.
If you're Genentech or Roche or McKesson or Marisource, you know, you need to understand how those products are within the supply chain and be able to back it up with the data.
Mhm. Absolutely. And this is, I mean, as I threw out the headline, we've got a coffee company that is focused on that. We've got IBM Food Trace that's out there. We've got a ton of these consortiums, but also companies and infrastructures that are built for this process. And this is, again, a still continually hot activity. And we're starting to see, as I'll add on to Gary's point, we're seeing more activity around this in supply chain in enterprise, where enterprises are having to connect the dots or seeing the need to connect the dots and using blockchain technologies to do so. But Gary, I want to switch gears. That's one area.
Sure.
Quantum. You wrote a paper recently, or pardon me, an article. I took a 100 years step back there.
Not a paper yet.
Right. You
A
wrote an
book soon, but
article.
not a paper.
There we go. You wrote a what people call a blog, a digital article. My
Yeah.
apologies, but you wrote an article about quantum and blockchain and the intersection of these and how important it is towards it. And it wasn't all about what most
Well, remember,
conversations have
Kyle,
been.
my article is how blockchain will be obsolete, right?
Yes, yes, and that's what I want to talk about. Exactly that,
Yeah.
because most discussions today, quantum is still very early in its conversations. To note to our audience, but when we talk about quantum, it's usually around cracking or breaking a security method or an encryption method. But Gary, your article talked about things a little differently, as you just mentioned. Talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing at quantum and blockchain.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could devote 3 shows to this thing. So I'll just take it from the top. I mean, the net is
Sure.
we've got some of these emerging technologies. I mean, look at
Mhm.
quantum when you're having to have compute power that's 100 million times faster than any conventional computer today. I mean, and most people don't realize, I mean, when you have quantum, you can store on photons, right? You're using photons for storage. This is an entirely different environment. And then you've got these qubits, you know, not binary, that are able to change. And so imagine 100 million times faster. So taking somebody that would take something that would take 10,000 years to process, being able to do it in a couple of minutes or a couple of hours, right?
Right.
That's the kind of level that we're talking about. Imagine the massive crunching of data. Now, so I want to digress for a second. Imagine now with drug discovery. I
Mhm.
just did a session with the top pharmaceutical companies in Europe where they asked us to come in, 8 of us, to come in and talk about emerging technologies, particularly AI and quantum, on drug discovery. Well, think
Mhm.
about how we do it. So COVID has given us an incredible situation, an opportunity, because why? We've had to develop something very quickly. We don't have time to do the benches. Having quantum computers that can process massive amount of data and do those models and present it back has dramatically shifted the way we do drug discovery. And the
Mhm.
companies, I was surprised, without naming the companies, how many of them have not really gone down that path as much as they should. A lot of it's the smaller companies, right? That are the newer companies that have done, and I don't want to get into it because I don't know what my restrictions are with the pharmaceutical companies, but
All good.
the net is that's the way the future is. But think about the massive amounts of data that's around us every single day. And now with IoT coming out, being able to process it, and more important, to be able to make predictions to help us make decisions. That's where it comes in. Now, in terms of the blockchain situation, I love blockchain. I like the ability to be able to have, it's like a 3-ledger system, right? So in accounting, but having that capability where you're able to validate something that's been done, and for the health tech companies being able to understand where a product is in a supply chain, or validate it for HIPAA requirements. And then you're looking at hybrid cloud solutions to be able to validate that, because you've got all these, again, requirements for security. So I like the blockchain, but the thing is, quantum's coming up.
Yeah.
And quantum could crush everything that's secure because it can figure it out quickly, right? And blockchains can be hacked. It's not that they can't. I don't know about you, but I'm still like, I had my identity stolen a few years ago, and I just don't like, I'm very cautious about where my stuff is. And if I got all my money for small transactions, yes, but I'm not going to stick all my money in some place in a digital wallet where I can get it stolen. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. So at the same time, we've got quantum coming in. Now, my world, the new world, is going to be different. We'll literally have like quantum computers running everything. I mean, they're going to protect and serve, right? They're going to be out, attack, defend, focus on where I wrote about it in 2017. And it wasn't about quantum, but it was about what the models would look like in the future. But imagine if you have a quantum computer and they're consistently going at each other, looking for vulnerabilities, forecasting when the next attack. It's like chess. It's like chess on steroids.
So speaking of that, and not chess on steroids, even though chess, I mean, funny enough, I don't know if those listening have seen the Queen's Gambit, an outstanding show on Netflix, another shameless plug. But after that had premiered, chess.com saw a enormous surge of signups as well. But anyways, I digress. Speaking of a little bit of artificial intelligence. So we talked a little blockchain. We talked a little bit about going global. We threw in a little quantum, drove into a whole new realm. AI. All of this plays a role, and they all converge together. So if we throw artificial intelligence into this, how does that play with the future of blockchain from your perspective? What are you seeing?
Well, I mean,
and I know you can't talk about it all. And I know we can do 10 shows on this, but on a highlight reel, what are you seeing that's getting you excited?
Well,
because I want to get to opportunities in a moment, but what are you seeing?
Sure. I mean, the thing is, Kyle, we're going past. So, Morpheus, my friend's house, is like, I think it loves me actually, because it's right to me. I don't know
what's wrong
what
with
it
that
is exactly, but I think it, it's like reaching out. But we have these we go from semi-supervised to unsupervised artificial intelligence, where it actually is doing actions on its own without any type of supervision. Now, if you take quantum computers where you're able to work at 100 million times faster, imagine with the right kind of artificial intelligence in there, every single thing can be controlled at a moment's notice, right? You know exactly what's happening. So, I mean, in terms of space exploration, in terms of going to other planets and figuring out how to travel through wormholes, as folks like your friend Christopher Altman talk about, instead of travel the speed of light, to be able to get there faster. So we're going from the prehistoric times to flying on jets. That's how much difference. We're talking about living in a cage to going in a Bombardier or a Learjet or a Cessna or a Honda now. I mean, that's how fast this thing is going to change. And it's not going to take very long. And when it's done, it's going to entirely change everything.
Right. Well, we're already in the middle of it. That's the crazy thing that I think we all tend
Exactly.
to forget is, and as entrepreneurs now, or as consumers now, as entrepreneurs and as investors, perfect time. This is the time. You haven't missed the boat. You're not too late. This is the time. To Gary's point, is right now. Get in. As entrepreneurs, you should be listening to what Gary's saying right now and what we talk about a lot here on VCTV and say, boom, let's go and build. Let's start changing what we do from here to there. Let's integrate this to that to really put yourself in a good position for the next 10 years and beyond for your company. And investors, I mean, Gary's painted the picture for you. There's no better time than right now. And in the next month and the month previous and the next 3 months and the next year, this is the time to get in to some of these companies and technologies because they're long games. Some of them are a lot longer. Quantum, as I said, was an early day. It's an early inning. We haven't even gotten up to bat yet. We are just getting started that technology, but it's a good place to start laying bets again for the next 10 years. AI, you're in the middle of it. You're going to see some of the greatest companies, I would argue, and this is again my statement, you're going to see some of the greatest artificial intelligence companies being built right now that will take over and dominate, hopefully not in Skynet terms, but would take over and dominate over the next 3 decades.
Absolutely, Kyle. I mean, look at this, right? So now let me just tell you one thing, capsule endoscopy, where you actually swallow a capsule. It's got a camera on it to go down through your body to see what's going on, right? Using artificial intelligence, using the blockchain. I mean, this is today, right? So now we talk about living to 150. That's the target. Living to 150. Well, the technologies, imagine having these nanobots running through your bloodstream, and this is not far out, running through your bloodstream all the time, being able to repair, being able to observe, being able to modify to help you live longer. Then we have the 3D printers being able to print things like organs, pancreases. Now that changes. And then we got stem cells. Now put artificial intelligence on top of that to be able to do some discovery. There's a group out of Panama today that actually is using stem cells to be able to repair hearts that have been damaged by things like heart attacks or cancer, to be able to fight back. This, your cells over time damage because, they die, and then the point you end up having, adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, and they start to not match up perfectly right, and you end up getting cancer, metastasis. So imagine all those things being reversed. But we are on the dawn. We talk about it from, you're right, we're in the beginning of it. We're in the beginning of it around us. We use Google. People don't realize how much AI is involved with Google. We use Facebook. Now these companies are interconnecting together. You do one sign in. Oh, I'll sign in with my Facebook account or Google, and you start getting ads, but they understand what's happening with your life. They understand what kind of things you're going to buy, not are buying. They understand. I mean, I heard somebody say that some of the companies can predict when you're going to die within a range, right? Because they understand your patterns, you're healthy, you're not healthy. You can drill down that much. The good news is that also, imagine with the Internet of Things and the medical devices and the fitness bands, et cetera, everything tied together to help you live longer, to be happier, to travel further, to be able to reach the stars,
Right.
And
Right.
I mean, look at it where we are. We got 3 companies. We got, we got more than 3, but we got Branson, Bezos, and Elon Musk today that are looking at private travel. Plus, you've got the Chinese and European Space Agency, NASA. But now, to be able to reach out, there's 6 billion Earth-like planets just in the Milky Way galaxy, an estimated 200 trillion galaxies. So think about what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
In 2100, we'll have 13 billion people on the planet. There won't be enough land, won't be enough food to be able to sustain everybody. And that's based upon the fact that the population growth doesn't keep going up. It has quadrupled in the last 100 years. So we need to start exploring. The good news is quantum computing and AI is going to give us the capabilities to develop things that are so far outside of anything we've ever done, new materials, new ways of travel, being able to understand. I mean, imagine being able to do what Einstein did in his lifetime in a second, and not only that, everything, right? Literally.
Right. Well, what's fascinating, I mean, a personal experience, when I first got into the Internet of Things years ago, to me, it felt like bringing science fiction to life. What you're talking about right now is really that. I mean, we are bringing science fiction to fact and bringing it into our lives in some ways that's already exists. We don't even know about. We don't think about it because it's just done for us, right? As you mentioned, how
You're
artificial
on
intelligence is already
Zoom.
evolved. That
5
is
years
true.
ago, when Eric was talking about Zoom and I met with their investor, right? He put me on to Zoom. People said I was crazy. It's never going to work. There's Skype, there's Google, you've got WhatsApp, you got all this stuff. And then you've got AirPod Pros on. You've got AI on your ears now, and you're
Mhm.
using a Mac or whatever computer. So we're already there. I mean, when
Right.
he talked about, think about how clear this is compared to the way Skype was. And I'm not trying to plug Zoom. I'm not a
No, no, no.
shareholder, but imagine that. I wish I was,
Right.
because he's worth $19 billion today.
He's doing all right. It's okay because there's plenty of AI, blockchain, and quantum companies coming out of there. And Gary, I want to come real quick to opportunities. Where are you seeing areas of opportunities people should be focusing, whether investors or entrepreneurs? And then I'll
Yeah,
throw some
sure.
out there as well for us today.
Well, so the investors,
Mhm.
there are opportunities around the world. It's not like it was a couple of years ago. I literally have been on the calls with Africa this morning. I had a call with Turkey, Singapore. There's opportunities everywhere. Jakarta, Bangladesh. Look where people don't look.
Mhm.
As Warren Buffett say, go against the market. This is where you're going to mine those opportunities out. Understand there's a lot of people tell a lot of BS about AI, but
Mhm.
open up the covers. What is it? Is deep learning, machine learning? What kind of neural nets do they have? Do they have clusterization or ladder networks or variational autoencoders? What exactly are they doing? And more importantly, what kind of team do they have? And
Right.
understand, people talk about a unicorn. Having gone down through and done a couple of them, I can tell you directly, it's about having a resilient team that wants to get shit done, that is focused on a particular problem and understands that you have to pivot sometimes. It's not about it's going to work, it's going to work. Pivot, listen to your customers. If customers dictate changes, incorporate those changes, bring the team in. Investors, it's a great opportunity. Entrepreneurs, you're all over the world. I talk to you every day. I've been and many, many times, most of the time on VCTV. But I can tell you directly, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. So if you got a health tech AI company, you got a company in gaming, you've got a company in manufacturing, supply chain, you've got a blockchain company, I have one company right now that's created a artificial social media influencer that's a personality based on the faces, right, of people from Asia, and it's unbelievable. She's getting a lot of, I say she, Maya, she's getting a lot of attention because she is now tied up with Puma, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's not a real person, but now it's part of the brand working with Puma. So these kind of things, these avatars are going to be more and more part of our lives, and that's going to blend between, is that video, is that product placement in that video or movie, is that real or not?
Mhm.
I just heard a couple of days ago they had AI generated music in the style of Frank Sinatra. It was a made up song that the AI made up for Christmas. It was unbelievable. It was uncanny. It sang like Frank Sinatra, and it was AI. So
Wow.
these is a preview of coming attractions. Being able, there will not be reporters like we have today. There will
Right.
be AI generated. You will say it will know, Kyle, exact. This is what my friend David's doing in his house, my partner. It will know the kind of things that you want. It'll be able to sense your mood and bring up news based on that. It'll be able to understand what your day should be like to be able to schedule you more efficiently. It will understand what you should eat, when you should eat it, why you should eat it, where you should go, why you should go. Your self-driving car will take you there. And it'll be based a lot on, and I don't want to say smart assistant, but these super intelligent AI assistants to be able to help you make your life a lot better.
Again, this is just so fascinating to watch come true. I gave a TEDx speech around this exact topic and talked about this a couple of years ago. And now seeing it all come into reality makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside as well.
Well,
And
you're a genius, Kyle. You're ahead
uh,
of the curve. I enjoy seeing you every day and enjoy our conversations. I mean, this is the way things get moved forward. It's sharing the information, aggregating the information, and more importantly, turning it into action. Actions do speak louder than words.
they do. And with that, I want to throw a few areas of opportunity out there for our audience on the blockchain space. So we've commonly talked about this, but picks and shovels, the infrastructure of blockchain technology, whether it's looking at blockchains themselves, protocols, development platforms, distributed computing and storage, or even that layer two scaling opportunity. Focus on those areas. We need more and better improved, hardened products and services in that area. So those that are looking to build that picks and shovels area of the blockchain landscape, focus on it. There are more opportunities, to Gary's point, around the intersection of other technologies to better position them. And then, last but not least, the non-sexy things, the boring, the enterprise, looking at enterprise systems, whether it be ERP, whether it be CRMs, these old traditional done by paper and pencil, still in some cases, or very, very basic user interfaces, still are looking for something to take them into that next level. Blockchain can be a part of it, and it even plays into a bigger picture of these next distributed and decentralized applications that we are looking at in the near future. And thanks to artificial intelligence, quantum, the power of 5G, and some of the areas, again, we've talked about here on VCTV. So a few areas of opportunity for you. And in fintech, I'll just say P2P, peer-to-peer. In emerging markets, we're seeing this as a huge uptick. We talked about it in Latin America. We've talked about it in Africa as well, even in South America. P2P, peer-to-peer, bringing the ability of financial inclusion and also business inclusion, which we'll be talking about a little later as well, areas of opportunity. Gary, we're coming up to time. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm so thankful to be able to spend today and also our holidays together as we are family now here on VCTV. But any closing thoughts, anything you want to leave the audience with around going global, AI, quantum, blockchain, any of those areas? And then, of course, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, I mean, this is the greatest time for that. I mean, the one thing you want to do startups is try to make a positive dent in the universe. I mean, we're doing that with one of our AI security companies, IREX, working with the CEO of Missing and Exploited National Task Force for Missing and Exploited Children and the District Attorney in New York. So try to make a little positive dent in the universe. Develop long-standing relationships because you'll meet the same people coming up as you do going down. So make sure you have friends and keep those bridges open. It is truly a democratized international opportunity today. The one thing is the difference between doing it and not doing it. A friend of mine one time said to me, a billionaire, he said, Gary, he said, give me a coin. And I said, okay. He said, I'm going to flip the coin. He said, what is it? Heads or tails? I said, heads. He said, it's heads. He said, Mom, I'm going to tell you a little thing. He said, if you wouldn't have tried it, you have zero chance of winning. At least you had a chance of winning and you won. So that's what entrepreneurship is about. Build a great team, do the right thing, build intergenerational, culturally diverse teams, decentralize, find the right talent at the right place at the right time. Use Silicon Valley as a port. I say that I deal all over the world every single day. It's still a great place to find people from Africa, from the US, from Latin America, from Germany, doesn't matter. They're from all over the world. They're there. I raised money from China there. I raised money from Russia there and Israel there. It happens to be there. And the valuations are higher. So get shit done, stay happy, enjoy the holidays, You can reach me, and if it's not your holidays, enjoy the weekend. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, Twitter. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, LinkedIn, Gary@gsdvs.com. I have a show every week. It's on Tuesdays. Go to gsdvs.com. We have incredible people like Kyle that come onto the show and talk about the future and how you can be successful as a startup. So great to have you. And thanks, Kyle, for taking time out of your holiday season to be able to invite me on board. I'm honored and privileged to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Again, for everything, and also taking time to join us here on VCTV as well. It's always a pleasure. And those that are listening today or will be listening, definitely reach out to Gary and definitely add context. We've talked about this in the past, and I'll continue to mention it. Add context where you met him here on VCTV or heard him, but also what you would like to talk about. We talked about a number of topics today, whether that be supply chain, health and pharmaceuticals, quantum, artificial intelligence, blockchain, going global, and so much more. Make sure you mention these when you reach out to Gary, as you can continue the conversation with him online. And also a big thank you to your audience for tuning in. If you're liking what you hear, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Do reach out if you'd like to be on a show like today, like Gary and other investors that we have here on VCTV. We'd love to have you. Thank you, Gary, to talk about different industries, technologies, and regions around the world and hear your thoughts and insights from on the ground where you are and what you're doing as well. And entrepreneurs, there's less than 4 weeks. What better way to end and then start the year ahead than getting here on our virtual stage at VCTV to pitch us your company, product, or service, get real-time feedback, build relationships, and get exposure to our entire live audience. Reach out to the team and or myself. We'd love to find the right spot and also investors and topic for you to share on as well. And a big thank you to the LATOKEN team and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day and bringing us all together all over the world here for you, our audience. And with that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me online 24/7, 365, along with Gary. I'm at Kyle Ellicott on all social media. With that, we'll be back here next week with more